You get that reference? Oh, okay, well, that's like, so the other day somebody talked about, well, said something sounded like a broken record, and I said, well, for those of you in the room that are under, under 50, that was when.
I stayed recently in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
The light switches were so far away from the bed, I thought, I can't see where I'm going. So I just, for the heck of it, I just tried. It didn't work.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that does stuff around here?
Oh, brother.
How are things in Mineral Springs? Yeah. I made the mistake of saying that the other day, and I got like a hate grams. Not like a hateful email, you know. You've gotten a few of those in your lifetime. Yeah. Right.
Oh, man.
And it's not even something that was our fault.
We're being broadcast, by the way, Casey. Right now, we are live and in living color.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Do we have a, I have an extra pen. Mine is not in my,
I had to beg one from Austin.
Austin might
He
share.
might have to get some more
Did you share a few pens with us?
some more going.
Oh, he's gonna. Where about the Mineral Springs are you? Because every time I drive through, I'm like,
Oh, Valley Farm Road. It's right off of McNeil Road.
okay.
Right. That one subdivision right by the railroad track.
All right.
It's an old subdivision from the 70s. Thank you.
Well, I know Joe's got bound to be here. I guess Joe and Steve
I think so, right?
and the new
Andy's going to be here.
Andy's gonna be here.
He got caught in the rain. He had to
Okay.
get dry.
And Steve okay, and Steve is Steve Ayers, you know this? Okay. I mean, we got some ability to there he is.
Halfway dry. Yeah, I figured out.
And I'm trying to remember the
That is all I needed. I appreciate it.
I missed it.
Never not working.
and I think and Amanda, is it Delwyn Archer from Waxhaw that's supposed to be here?
Oh, no, you mean the delegate? That was
Yeah. Jeff Hall from Waxhaw? Okay, Jeff Hall, all right. All right, Jeff Hall. All right. And, well, I know Steve wanted to discuss one of these agenda items, so I assume, yeah, Steve from Stallings.
It was
It was poor.
Oh, dude, it was,
horrible, so he's
oh, I
probably
know,
running a little
I
behind
know.
in traffic, I would imagine.
Well, we can wait just a few minutes.
I can attest to it. I was out there standing there looking at drainage problems in a neighborhood.
Yes, we've got a new one for Waxhaw. And was it Jeff Hall, I think is?
Jeff Hall.
Hall, I think.
Is that the only one that's changed?
So,
Everybody else is the same.
anybody here from the Sheriff's Department? Okay, and I'm sorry, sir, your first name again? David, thank you very much. That's what I thought, all right.
Was Jeff the alternate before?
I don't know.
I think he was at the one previously.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's been to several.
All right.
I wasn't sure if he was the alternate before.
All right, all right. Well, we'll give them just a few more minutes. I mean, the weather's obviously what it is, and so we'll hang on for just a minute before we get started. Good grief. knew it was gonna rain. I didn't think it was gonna rain that much today.
It was pouring.
Wasn't looking like it was going to, and then all of a sudden it
I know,
exploded on the radar.
I know.
Make sure everything from update.
Oh, do you know, one of the things I was gonna talk about, I know it's not listed on the agenda, was Joe was gonna try to find out about that venue for March, some church or something where we could, if we're gonna invite the Union County legislative,
Actually, I don't think he did, but Austin would be the one to talk to because he's the one that made the arrangements
Okay.
the last time. So
Okay.
we can catch
well,
up
good.
with
Well,
him.
as long as there's somebody here that we can get that ball rolling, because I wanna get the invitation out. I mean, I talked to those guys before Christmas, but I wanna make sure that, that I can get that invitation out here as soon as we can.
I would venture pretty good bet it was Austin that made those
All right.
arrangements before, so he would have that
All right.
information. Austin, when we went to the church for town hall and, you know, do you have that information? Because we might want to, actually, WUMA might want to use it for a venue.
We're trying to get a place, I talked to the guys from the Union County legislative delegation, and we were gonna move the meeting time to 7 o'clock, but at a bigger venue so we could invite the public. And Joe had said, oh yeah, there's a church that we use for something that would be great for that. They've got a,
Did we do that twice, Andy?
Yeah, I think so, twice. Yes, we did. Two years.
You could probably fit, I think, what, 200 or 300 people in there?
Yeah, I mean,
but that's what Joe recommended, but he said he was gonna check on that for us, and,
I can, let me look back at my email and see if I have contact.
all right, all right.
Because I know we had to do we had to like, send them like a rental application and do a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
But they were good. It was quite inexpensive, if I remember correctly.
They waived it, but we had to pay, I think we had to pay janitorial and technology fees. They had somebody there to run.
Right.
run their sound.
Okay,
Seems like it was
okay.
like $100 or something like.
Oh, yeah,
So, I mean, it was
nominal.
very, very much nominal. It was a big deal.
We met Jim.
I think we've seen each other. I know we've seen each other. I don't know if we ever.
Jim, have you met Amanda from Mayor Wesley Chapel?
The famous Amanda.
I'm gonna give our other two folks just a couple of minutes, and if they're still not here, we'll go ahead and get started and then catch them up if they can make it. I know the weather's been a little challenging here this afternoon.
Recently we were talking about the county describes like the Catholic religion. Well, I was like, I'm okay with that. Rigid. Set in our ways. I think I'll vote.
I thought I had
It's not too bad.
Steve's, but
I can think of worse ones, you know.
I know I have it in a text thread
Rigid just
somewhere,
means
but
you're strong. It's
probably
not-
didn't
it's a
separate it,
pressure.
put the name aside.
yeah.
You don't bend and break
And,
easily.
Let's see.
Hey, Jeff,
Hey.
this is the information I have. This is the girl I talked to.
Okay.
2021.
Okay.
Don't know if she's still here, but that should, still here, but that
The
still-
phone number still
it
should be
still
good.
work.
Okay, all right, well, good.
In the middle of a.
And that's at,
It's in Waxhaw.
in Wax, Forest Hills down in Wax.
right across from Harris Teeter.
Oh, okay, okay, cool, cool. Thank you very much. Well, at 10 after, I'm gonna get started, and then we'll just, we'll let the other folks catch up when they get here, so,
It is what it is. We can't
you know.
wait forever on them.
Steve, but I know both of those guys had contacted me, you know, to confirm Steve for an agenda item, and then, and the guy from Waxhaw about when and where, so.
Jeff actually spoke at one of our
Okay.
Weddington.
Okay.
Matter of fact, he's a Charlton guy. You remember him, right?
All right.
Yep, but we're on Jeff White's on.
We're live now.
Okay.
You want to mute your mic?
I'm good. It's, all right. And Austin, I hate to keep bugging you on stuff. Did you get a copy of the agenda from Karen Dewey that had the new business and everything on there? Because this one, right, okay, got it. I got it. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get the meeting started this afternoon. I know the weather's been a little skosh, and so if Steve and Jeff can go ahead and get here, we'll get them caught up, and we'll go from there. But I'd like to open the January 24 meeting of the Western Union Municipal Alliance. We do have a quorum present. I would ask the folks that are here if there's anything on the agenda that needs to be changed or added or anything like that. And Austin has got us live here from sounding a little loud. It's for the microphone, but we're having our meeting recorded and broadcast. So
Joe suggested we continue our discussions on that annexation proposal that he had proposed before.
oh, between Weddington and
No, that he was
sell
talking
your
with the
house.
state, that one, the one if you sell.
If you
get
sell your
annexed.
house, it's annexed into the municipal.
oh, okay, all right.
He just wanted to continue conditional.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, we'll just make that the first item under old business. And Andy, if you don't mind, I'll let you speak to that when we get started to it. And then the only other thing on new business, I'd like to add item C. I'm just going to call it March meeting, and that's when we're going to try to get the Union County Legislative Delegation together to meet with us. So we'll add under old business, we're adding the annexation discussion continuation from the last meeting.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Andy,
not
you'll
exactly sure what he wants to
All right.
discuss on it, but we'll talk about it again.
And then under new business, we'll add item C, just March meeting. Are there any other additions that anybody's got? Or if not, if I can get a motion to accept the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at the November 21 meeting minutes. Unless there's any changes that y'all see, if I can get a motion to accept those so we can get Austin to publish those for us. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The minutes.
Who made the motion?
I'm sorry, who did make the motion?
I did.
Amanda made the motion. All right, thank you very much. All right, moving right along. Item 4 is public comments. So anybody there, if you just come up and state your name and let us know what's on your mind.
You don't want to know what's on my mind. This is Dale Archer, and I'm from unincorporated Union County. Amanda, thank you so much for responding to my email so that I could find out that y'all were meeting today. Your website's not current. I hope that's not news to y'all, but if it is, I'm glad I mentioned it. But there was no information as to location. I appreciate receiving the hard copies of the planned meetings, and those will be posted on appropriate outlets that I have influence over so that the people that matter to me will be aware of your activities in the future. I guess the best thing for me to just say is just one thing. My understanding is that one of the Waxhaw commissioners, Jason Hall, was here back a few months ago and said that they were having trouble with extremists in Waxhaw. You're looking at one. So y'all take care.
All right, anybody else? Okay. Well, we'll close the public comments, and now we will start with the delegate municipality reports. All right, let's see. Andy, you want to go ahead and get started for us?
I can certainly do that. Since we last met, we've had a few things going on. I'm happy to report that our playground replacement is wrapping up soon. I got a picture that was sent to my phone from our manager showing some progress, and it is a good-looking set. We're very proud of it. We think it's going to last us a good long time. We just had our audit presentation today, and we're in really, really good shape. That's always good to hear that they had no audit findings. We just came back from our council retreat at Old North State, discussed lots of things, day and a half worth of meeting, and still didn't think we had enough time to cover everything, so we're going to extend it for next year to 2 full days. We're getting closer to wrapping up our UDO rewrite project. That will be adopted in around April, May. We have multiple subdivisions still in progress. We're making headway on Broadmoor especially, and so we're excited to get those up and running. I guess the biggest thing that we have going on is our GO bond, which will be at the primary election in March. We are doing neighborhood meetings at this point to get the information out as efficiently as we can to every single person that we can reach in the village so that they can make an informed vote. And then we have our Easter egg hunt's coming up in March. We got Marvin Day, April 27th. That should be about enough.
And what's the GO bond for? What do y'all?
So for one of them is a transportation bond, which would include roads, taking over roads from NCDOT into our road system. And the other portion of it would be a greenway expansion, which coincides with transportation. It would connect the village from one end to the other, make it very traversable. And then we have a parks bond, which would pay for our amphitheater, Village Hall Park.
Okay. Very good. Well, for Weddington, we got a few things that we've been working on. Speaking of retreats, we're going to have our retreat here next Monday. The place we normally use is unavailable, but we'll be over here at y'all's facility where we're sitting right now next Monday, starting at 9 o'clock, and we'll be doing our retreat. We currently, some of the things we'll be discussing, we've currently got some planning board openings that we're going to be looking at and reviewing and figuring out when we're going to do the interviews. And we got 3 folks that we're going to be replacing. 2 of those are just on the normal cycle. We got a new terms coming up, and 1 individual has moved and had to resign, so the 3rd person will just be filling out the remainder of that term. We are also in the process, I'm glad to report, we've finally gotten some applicants for our planner position, so hopefully before too long we will have a town planner back in town hall. Mr. Teft, Robert Teft, the fellow that has been working with us, got transferred down to Florida, and thankfully he has been helping us. He's still doing everything by communication, but as we all know, that doesn't replace somebody being in the office that you can walk in and talk to, so we'll be working on that. Let's see, just some other things around the town in case you're curious. There's no update on the Liberty Academy application. It's sort of status quo right now. There hadn't been any further meetings scheduled. I think there was one public involvement meeting that was postponed. They haven't pulled their application, I guess is what I'm saying. It's still there, but they're kind of in a stasis status right now. Nothing's really happening with it. The lot, there's about a 40-acre lot down there at the corner of Ray and Providence, which we've had an applicant put in to make that residential. And as I understand, the application has been put in, and they will be working to get that scheduled for the planning board to review. Also, at our last council meeting, the fire department folks came over, and Chief McClendon was briefing us on their new updated ISO rating that they got. They got that inspection done from the state, and now they're an ISO, and help me out here, Tom, is it 2? You or Jim, do you remember they're an ISO rating 2, I think, which is a bump up.
It was one level.
They've gone up one level, which is good because that helps with insurance rates. And I guess the last thing I would mention is that the land use plan review survey is going to be presented here in one of the next council meetings by the company that was hired to put that together. And as soon as council approves that, then that will start the process of getting that particular survey out to the town, and then we'll use that as our review for updating, whatever portions of the land use plan we need to update. And to the point about the meeting minutes, we did, Ann Pruitt, who had been doing our webpage and everything for the group, she did not run again. So Austin has, I don't know if you were volunteered or voluntold to take over the reins there, but
It's about half and half.
but if you've got anything for the webpage updating, Austin's our go-to guy now. But I appreciate you doing. Either way you got it. I'm glad. So.
Well, I'll do my best. Just have a little patience with me. I'm still trying to figure out how to exactly work it. It's a little different from the one that I use now.
But we did have a changeover, and so and Austin is picking that up now. All right. Well, that's all I've got. How about Wesley Chapel?
All right. Wesley Chapel, we have a lot of flooding concerns right now. It was a really bad storm in September where we got 7 to 9 inches of rain in a very short amount of time. Those 100-year storms are coming faster and faster. So we are hoping to do a stormwater study with the county and possibly Indian Trail to identify areas of repeated concern and how we might best help the residents in those areas. We just recently passed a resolution against a proposed a development owned incorporated Union County. It's near the Monroe Airport roundabout, and it would go from R40 to R4. And it's right smack in the area above where there's a lot of flooding. So we have a lot of concerns about that. So council unanimously passed a resolution against that. We received $250,000 from a state grant for capital improvement and related equipment for our Parks and Rec system. So we...
That's from the state?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was in the recent Budget Appropriations Act.
Okay.
We are still waiting to find out if we receive the potential $1 million funding to repair our high hazard dam before we make a decision on what we want to spend that $250,000 on. The roundabout we paid for in 2018 will finally start construction at Potter and Wesley Chapel in July. So we are very excited about that. However, they have put a pin in the roundabout at Potter and 84, and we're really sad about that. And there's still proposed developments along that stretch to make that intersection worse. And recently, due to a change in a school entrance, NCDOT has done a traffic study and traffic count for a potential light at Shamwood and Potter. So it's just a really active little corner of our world that has a lot of issues.
Okay.
That's about it.
Rick, Mineral Springs.
You don't hear much about us these days. We're very quiet in Mineral Springs, which is very good. It's kind of what we want. Our downtown project on the corner, the developer has gotten everything finally approved by Union County for utilities and by NCDOT for entrances. And so that now he's moved forward with getting his site plans done so he can get his final zoning our zoning administrator, and hopefully can break ground this year. We'd like to have that sort of dead corner just revitalized a little bit. Very small scale, very Mineral Springs-like, and that's what we want. There's been a little interest, it comes and goes with that 25-acre Harris Teeter property behind the town hall. Vicky, administrator, every once in a while gets interest. And again, it's going to depend, that would require extensive utility access in the county. I don't know how tight they are right now. I mean, we're in no hurry. We're happy to see it stay the way it is, but it's been zoned for mixed use for really decades. And it's just a question of, so that's what is going to end up going there. We'd like to see more non-residential than residential, but the developers generally want to do more residential because it's the low-hanging fruit and it sells so quickly. So that's something that we're working on, but we have a little bit of control over that. And it's only 25 acres, and Mineral Springs doesn't go to huge densities. So that looks good, and no other changes, just more. I'm more excited about the downtown commercial development, maybe getting taken care of. It was great to get rid of those rundown buildings, and now it'd be great to get rid of the vacant, lot that's just covered with weeds.
Understood.
So that'll be a big plus if that gets started.
All right, well, thank you very much.
However, because of the interest in that property, we had talked to the owner, the Harris City representative, and it looks like as of now, because there might be a sale pending, it looks like we will not get access to that property for parking, which means that we probably have to call off the festival again. So, which, well, it may not be all that hard because it's been really very tough to administer, and if we have to put it off for a year and regroup after the development takes place. If that property develops, the property that we use adjoining the town campus that we use for parking would be the property that we would elect to take under the parkland dedication requirement. And that would sort of solidify things once and for all. We can expand our park and be able to have permanent festival areas. So it may well be a blessing in disguise if we have to put it off this year.
Okay.
But we don't know for sure yet.
All right.
And that's it.
Thanks, Rick. All right, moving on to old business. And Andy, I'll do a brief introduction of this from what I remember, and then if you can kind of take over the discussion on the rest of it. I know this was Joe's.
Kind of his baby, I'm not sure.
His baby, so I don't know how deep we'll get into it. But if I recall correctly, his proposal was that we look into, and I think there was precedent for this in some other municipalities, that if there was a donut hole, in other words, an unincorporated property, and to your point about, Amanda, about unincorporated Union County property specifically to us, that if there was a donut hole that existed within a municipality, that upon the transfer or sale of that property in the future,
Right.
that then the town would be allowed to annex that donut hole in
the course of the sale.
the course of the sale,
Right.
if I'm remembering correctly.
Whoever is living on that property, it would stay the same. At the transfer of the deed, it would become part of the municipality, which would be, so if you didn't want to live in the municipality, you wouldn't be forced to move into it, but anybody moving in would automatically be brought in. So
Right.
that was something that had been suggested to him by somebody on the state level that had brought the bill forward a couple years ago, and it didn't get much traction, but was discussed with him again recently. And as you all know, we have a lot of donut holes, and our taxpayers pay for all of the stuff that goes on in our municipalities, and then the unincorporated people just reap the benefits. So, and on the flip side, I noticed that there was a great deal of people who were very much disappointed at the election because they came to vote and found out that they didn't live in the municipality, so they couldn't vote. So they left pretty frustrated, not knowing, because wherever they came from, assuming that they had voted in the past and just assumed that you could vote and
Right.
didn't realize how many donut holes that there are. And so this would kind of clear up some of that confusion too, I
Right.
would assume, right? So,
And I don't know if y'all saw it, but the county just released a feature on their website where you can put in any address in the county, and if you're in a municipality, it pops up. We're gonna put that on our website so residents can, but they just shared it, like last week maybe, but I can forward it to the group.
so there was a question asked if, you know, whether it should be pursued as a local bill or a statewide bill with this
Right.
proposal. And I don't know what y'all
You
think.
mean municipality specific? In other words, you
Yeah,
could get one of our
or
reps
a
to say,
couple of,
for
whatever.
Marvin.
Right.
Okay.
Or maybe a couple municipalities, depending on how it, you know, I don't know what would be the best route on this. My understanding is it was a local bill that created this situation to
Right.
begin with, so.
Well, I know, at least in Weddington, we don't provide, you know, a lot of, I guess, city services that a lot of municipalities would do, to your point about somebody living in an unincorporated spot in the middle of the town, they're getting their trash picked up for free, and they're getting, you know, name your service type of thing. I know we don't do that, so, you know, the biggest concern people in our town have talked about, or are always concerned about, is if it's a piece of unincorporated property and there's something going in, like you mentioned, Amanda, that really doesn't fit our land use plan or our UDO, that kind of thing, so. But,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know, I
there's,
understand that, I see the merit of it, and especially, I mean, I'm not personally a involuntary annexation kind of person, but if it's written so that it goes at the transfer of the sale to the new owner,
right,
then that would make more sense to me if the legislation is gonna be proposed.
because you could live there for as long as you want to, and it's your decision not to, but
Right.
the next person moving in, it would be just like if you were already annexed in, you buy a house in that municipality, it's disclosed,
Mhm.
you know, when you go to buy the house, that it is going to be in,
Right.
and you have the choice whether you want to buy in a municipality or not. So it still gives you choices. It just helps the municipality out for those donut holes, trying to close in those donut holes.
And I guess that would also apply to undeveloped property that was just vacant land. Same thing, if that changed hands.
Right, any property that's within the,
It may have nobody living there.
Right.
but owning that
Right.
would be
Right.
right, and,
with development rules and.
right, you don't necessarily have to live there, but you're still paying taxes there and yada, yada. So that would, and then I guess that would be about as fair of a transition without forced annexation as you could get. I mean, I guess it's a halfway decent trade-off.
Well, why don't we do this? I know, as you said, you know, Joe was sort of the point man on this subject. I would suggest we hold this over or carry this over to the February meeting. Or even March, more specifically, as to your point there, when we've hopefully got the Union County delegation here, and we can kind of get their feel for whether they think that's a workable issue or not. So if there's no more discussion on that, I will move to new business, and this is the subject that I am most anxious to get on the table this afternoon. I'll start this, and it's listed as a discussion about the state traffic safety grant program. I don't think it's a stretch for me to say that my guess is that our fellow municipalities get your. I'm so sorry, my fault. You're fine. Get complaints about traffic, about people speeding, about people running red lights, et cetera, et cetera. I can say from the time that I have spent on council, that is the most consistent issue that we get communication, both phone calls and messages and emails and everything else about. And at the rate of growth that we've got, it's not getting better, it is getting worse. A couple of meetings ago at Weddington, one of our deputies was given a kind of summary report about things that were going on, and he happened to, as an aside, mention that and David, help me if I'm misstating this, the North Carolina governor, David, if you want to. But this is a program that David, and I'm sorry, your last name, David? Williams, who's from the sheriff's office, who is the expert, I've been told subject matter expert on these grant applications, is here to tell us about what it involves and what it includes. And then, David, after you're done, hopefully we can ask some questions and then have a discussion about some traffic safety things here. So I'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate it, and thank you for having me here. I am David Williams. I'm with the Union County Sheriff's Office. Kind of give a bit of my background. I'm retired law enforcement. I worked 30 years in the city of Monroe. Retired as a captain with the city of Monroe Police Department. Right after that, I went and worked for what's called the Governor's Highway Safety Program in Raleigh. I worked for them for over 11 years. And basically what the Governor's Highway Safety Program does is we gave out traffic safety grants to law enforcement. We give out grants to nonprofits, to medical facilities, anything pertaining to highway safety was what our focus was. And our money came from NHTSA, which is a federal funding. It would come down through the state of North Carolina, and then we would disperse the money out to the state and local agencies. So that's how that worked. I went to work for the sheriff's office a little over a year ago. They brought me in to look at what kind of grant funding they could get, and also I'm doing their off-duty in between, but I'm part-time, so I have a full plate, but I don't mind doing that. I really enjoy it. As far as the Governor's Highway Safety Program and as far as traffic safety, I made a couple of notes here. The way they look at it is they look at highway safety initiatives. So they look at each area around the state, the communities, the municipalities, and see where there's a highway safety problem. And then they look at possibly funding that problem. The funding, like I said, it comes from NHTSA. It is federal funds. I'll tell you where the money comes from. It comes from the gas taxes. So the federal gas tax that you pay, that goes into the federal government through that highway safety, and then they, in turn, disperse that money out. And they base it on each state on your highway fatalities. So unfortunately, if you have a lot of highway fatalities, serious injuries and crashes, then you're eligible for more funding. And they base it on three of the most prevalent ones is occupant protection, which is seat belts, speeding, and impaired driving. So that's the three areas. They base it on other ones too, underage, fatalities and pedestrians. But those are the three that they really focus on. That's what the federal government looks at. Highway safety personnel, if you would receive a highway personnel grant, and that's the only way they do it, they do not give out just equipment grants. They give out highway safety personnel grants. And the state of North Carolina is one of the few states that still does that. The federal government cut that out with a lot of the other states when I was there, and they only give out overtime grants to a lot of other states. So in other words, a law enforcement agency will apply for funding, and all they get is overtime to go out and work some, overtime enforcement. But we are still fortunate enough in the state of North Carolina to still receive personnel grants, which includes the vehicle, the personnel funding. And the way it works is the first year is 85-15. 85% is funded, 15% is matched. And in that first year is where you would get your vehicle equipments and your NDT, anything else that goes with that vehicle. So that's why they do it that way, is because they want the large portion of it paid up front. The second year is a sliding scale. It goes 70-30, 70 paid by the federal government, 30 by the local agency. And then the third year would be the last year, and it's 50-50. So that way, and then after the third year, there is no, how can I say this? There's no contingency saying that you have to continue funding that position, but we look at it. Or I might say we. In the office, we would look at if another agency came down the road and let's say 3 years later they want to put in for another highway safety grant, we would say first, are you still funding those two officers we gave you? And if not, then we would say no. Until you put those two people back in a car and have them work highway safety, we're not even gonna look at your application. So that's the way they look at it. You don't have to, but if you want future funding, it's in your best interest, is what we tell law enforcement agencies, to continue that project that we gave you. So it's like a seed. So we're you know, it's like a weed and seed. You know, we try to seed you and give you some funding, and then we hopefully that will, you know, inspire other officers in your agency to go out and do traffic enforcement. And that's usually what happens is when you get a couple of people working traffic enforcement, then the guys on patrol or the guys out here who don't normally work traffic will also participate. So it's kind of a, you know, it's kind of a collective thing. They go by the federal fiscal year funding, October 1 through September 30th. So if you would put in for a grant this year, and normally it's opened up on January 1 and it ends January 31st. So this year is coming to a close. Kind of a little too late now to put something in. If you would look at funding for this, it would be January 1st of 25, and then you would look at maybe possibly be funded October 1st of 25, and it goes for 3 years from that point. And of course, and I talked with Chief Underwood about this. If you would do something like this, it would have to possibly go through it would have to go through the sheriff's office, because they are the law enforcement area, or they have the law enforcement capability to do this, and that's how they would look at it. It has to be a law enforcement agency that has to apply for this, and with that, and we've done this with Indian Trail. We have contract deputies in Indian Trail, and we've had a couple of grants through the sheriff's office through Indian Trail to get them some traffic enforcement. We gave them some traffic enforcement officers, but then again, they're going to look at the size of the area. They're going to look at the highway safety needs. You know, that's what Governor Highway Safety does. They're going to look at everything, all the criteria. They're going to say, is there a traffic problem? Are they having crashes? Are there serious crashes? Are there fatalities involved? And what can we do to try to help with that? So that's kind of an overview of how the Governor Highway Safety works and how possible funding would work.
And so you said it's 3 years. I had initially heard that it was a 5-year program, but I guess it's not 5.
It's just a 3-year.
And to your point that you mentioned about the timing, I know when I spoke to Deputy Wren, you know, and I was mentioning this, I said, no, I wouldn't be expecting us to try to get something done this year. I figure we as a group, you know, could work on this for this year, and then if we decide to do it, we would be working on getting an application in January of 25.
Yeah.
So I know one of the questions I asked Deputy Wren was, because I know when, like, we've got 3 deputies in Weddington that we pay for. I guess, Marvin, you guys have got 2, that traffic enforcement is not their primary job. They're doing all sorts of responding to calls, you know, et cetera, patrolling, that kind of thing. And what seemed appealing to me about this program was these, and is it 2 or is it 1 officer? Is it for traffic enforcement that would be funded?
You can ask for 2, you can ask for 1.
Okay.
They would determine in the office, if you ask for 2, they say maybe we'll only give them 1, so yeah.
But the idea being is the traffic enforcement is that deputy's primary job when they're in the vehicle. And now Deputy Wren did tell me, he said, that doesn't mean, Jeff, he said, if, you know, there's a break-in or there's something else that happens that they need to help respond or back up to, that they would do that. But again, the traffic enforcement would be their primary task when they're on duty.
I will tell you that they will say that when that deputy is in a vehicle, that deputy needs to be doing traffic enforcement. Unless, like you said, and what we tell all our law enforcement agents this, is that we understand that he's a police officer or a deputy. And, you know, emergencies come first. And if he's in the vehicle, he or she was in the vehicle, and they get a call for something and it's emergency, we expect them to respond to it.
Right.
And we don't have we as Governor's Highway Safety have a problem with them responding to it, but they need to clear it as soon as they can and get back to work in traffic enforcement.
Okay.
With that being said, about 2-3 years ago, what NHTSA made us do, and the only reason that the Governor of Highway Safety was able to keep funding personnel is they won't fund, they only pay for the time that the deputy is actively working traffic enforcement. So if he has time off, which is vacation, sick, or holiday, they won't pay for that. They will not pay for any training other than highway safety. If it's in-service training and firearms, they will not pay for that. So they've cut out a lot, and that's going to be, because you got to look at that too, is that there's some funding that they will pay for the deputy to be in the vehicle working traffic enforcement. If he responds and he has to stay out of his car and help out on patrol for 2 or 3 hours, that has to be deducted from his time.
Okay.
So, all right, so do they allow for somebody else to take his place and pay for those hours, so you get the full bang for your buck, if you will?
The only time they would allow for that if his deputy's going to be out for an extended amount of time. Let's say he gets hurt on duty and he's going to be out with an injury for months. I have seen them let that deputy be replaced by another one. As far as a day-to-day basis, no. They will.
So we just lose the coverage for his vacation time for the year and, sick time?
I mean,
or
another deputy
training
can
time?
work it if, as far as not get paid through the Governor's Highway Safety, but yeah, they will not pay for that time.
Okay.
And David, is this the type of program that would be funded, from our point of view, as perhaps an interlocal agreement between several municipalities and the sheriff's office where
Well,
it's prorated?
Well, that's, well, again, my driving in the truck thinking about this subject idea was that if WUMA, as we as a group of municipalities, say, hey, this is something we're interested in, and I believe, David, you're the one that told me this when I discussed it on the phone. If, like you said, Rick, we want to do this as a group. It's not just going to be Marvin putting in an application, but we all want this officer to work our neck of the woods, so to speak, here in this side of the county. Then there would be one, as I understand it, one like lead municipality that would be putting in the application, that would be dealing directly with the sheriff's department as far as, writing the check for whatever these costs. So there's 80, 15, 30, 50, 50. And we, as the municipalities, would have to get our intermunicipal agreements saying, okay, well, it's going to be X number of dollars, and we're going to, for this 3-year period, we're going to split it, 5 ways, 3 ways, whatever that may be. Am I remembering?
You're exactly right. There has to be one lead agency to do the fiduciary. There has to be the one that, basically, that's the ones that the Governor's Highway Safety will send the reimbursement to. So in other words, that agency would send the reimbursement to the Governor of Highway Safety, and they in turn would send it back to that agency. Now, how that agency disperses it out is up to, then they would have to figure that out. But they only want to go through one agency to disperse the money, yes.
So given that, okay, so say all of us in WUMA decide to participate in this, for just an example. So if we all did, then we have a fairly large area to cover with 7 municipalities. So we would absolutely try to get 2 officers to do this program. So would it be beneficial to pick, who would we pick to represent based on our odds to get 2 officers versus 1? Would we go with population? Would we go with, main thoroughfares? What would we look for to try to?
If you want to combine all 3 areas and say these deputies are going to be working in all 3 areas, they would have no problem with that. What they would say is, okay, that's fine, all 3 agencies, and it'd be a contract deputy through the sheriff's office to work all 3 areas.
Right.
What I'm saying is the sheriff's office would be the fiduciary as far as putting in an application, all the money being
Okay.
handled through them, and then the reimbursements will go back to you guys, once, it's paid,
So
to
sheriff's
the sheriff's
office-
office, yeah.
Does they actually submit the application for the deputies to be
Yeah.
added, and then we would reimburse the sheriff's office
Yes.
for the?
Yeah,
okay, I got it.
that's how Indian Trail did it. We went through a contract deputy through the Union County Sheriff's Office put in the application for the contract deputy or deputies. They had two of them in the town of Indian Trail. When it was approved, then the sheriff's office would do the reimbursement to the Governor's Highway Safety. Governor Highway Safety send the money back to the sheriff's office, and then between the sheriff's office and Indian Trail, they would determine how they would,
And I would think that with this group, because we have such different backgrounds in terms of what we have for law enforcement already. Waxhaw and Stallings, for example, they're the two that aren't here, have police departments that have pretty robust traffic enforcement presence. They may not want to put funds into the program.
Well,
because if they're done,
you're right, and I guess, like I said,
And that'll be fine too, as long as we.
Right, yeah.
painting with a really broad brush here, Providence Road, Ray Road, 84. I mean, I'm talking about the main arteries where when people have talked to me or written me, that's where they're talking about, we're looking for this enhanced enforcement. Those on those main roads. It's not off of, some side road down, whatever. This is, the main drags, if you want to call them that, through our western part of the town, or western part of the county. And again, if it means, Marvin, Wesley Chapel, and Weddington are doing it, and, Stallings and Waxhaw go, no, we're good, then that's what, I guess the way we would approach it. My goal for this meeting is to get this, number one, get the information out from David, see if there's any interest in the group, if we can take this back to our separate councils and say, hey, this program is available. Are we interested in participating in this? Yes or no? And then when we get back together again, we'll see what the individual councils say about it. And then, if it is a yes, then, we can proceed from there on more of the details.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I'll add right now is I understand exactly what you're saying about as far as the funding or the approval is based on, okay, well, how many wrecks are you having, how many fatalities and stuff like that. In my previous life, I was a chief of safety for the Air National Guard out at the airport. And what got me was the intersection there at Billy Graham and Marsfield Drive. We did not have a left-hand turn signal, and there were wrecks there all the time. And when I called up the police department and I said, can you at least put us in a turn lane? The answer I got was, well, we haven't had enough fatalities there yet. And so I'm personally not, and again, I don't know how you handle that, but I don't think we should have to wait until we're having wrecks. I know people are speeding, but I don't think we should have to wait until, we got a fatality count up before we, as elected folks, try to do something to help this problem. And so that's where I'm coming from on it.
And I'm sure this data is out there, but can the Union County Sheriff's Office pinpoint the areas within our municipalities that are the hot spots to be highlighted?
I would think so. I would think there's a way they could, pull up some data and see, where the crashes are occurring. I do know that there is something the state has that they have now in place. And I haven't looked at that. I know we funded the State Highway Patrol to do that. And then they, in turn, I think the local municipalities and sheriff's office are supposed to be able to access that too. So it's the crashes that the Highway Patrol respond to. And they were supposed to include the data from municipalities and everything too, but it's a NC State University we actually had that program. We had funded it at Governor Highway Safety about 6-7 years ago. And it was for that reason, so we could pull up data from not just the whole county, but parts of the county too, yeah.
I don't know how y'all's deputies work, but every month at our regular meeting, we get a report from our deputies that give us, however many accidents, thefts, the whole gamut. We get a whole page, and we actually have 2 radar signs that we have posted in the village, and we're getting 2 more put in, and we get results back from that too. So it tells us speeds, percentages of speeds, top speeds, that kind of thing, so we can track some of that on our
Yeah.
highly traveled thoroughfares, and they give a lot of data back too to the deputies, and it gives them times and dates of when obviously not a license plate, but times and dates so that they can track when the high speeds are occurring and stuff like that. So that data can help.
Well, I know
with
some
some
of
of
the
that
data
stuff.
that Deputy Wren shared with me, that the biggest thing that stood out to me was he said the majority of the people they pull over for speeding don't live in our municipalities. They are,
Right.
we're a
Travelers.
cut through.
Yeah.
We are, they're going to
Passing
South
through,
Carolina,
yeah.
they're going, someplace else. Real quick, David, you said something about, I made a note here about this overtime stuff. Now, if we, for whatever reason, as a group decide, no, this is this funding thing, this grant thing is not something we want to pursue as a group, or let's say, 2 or 3 of us, or we apply for it, don't get it, et cetera. What would be the mechanism, or is there a mechanism that we could get, if we wanted to get some money between us for an overtime thing, or taking, instead of going the, I guess, grant process, taking a deputy that may be already on staff and saying, hey, for so many hours a week.
That falls into your other job, right?
We'll
Yeah, you could do that on the off-duty.
Would Sheriff Kathy be?
I don't know, that would be between him and Chief Underwood, you could speak to them about that. But I will say that we did fund overtime grants to go to Harbor Safety.
Right.
We didn't fund that many of them. They were up to like $25,000, and we allowed the law enforcement agencies to go out there and we wanted enforcement. So no, but there was a lot of you're talking about documentation. We would do a reimbursement every month. We wanted to see every citation, a copy of every citation that was written. We wanted to see a CAD from the dispatch that the officer was stopping the car. We wanted to see the CAD report. And then as far as the salary, we wanted to see that the officer was being paid for that time and a half by that agency. So there was a lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation that we required, because the federal government basically told us that was one of the easiest ways, I shouldn't say it that way, that was one of the ways that a lot of agencies were getting money and not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so because of that, of fraud, they wanted us to make sure that we were documenting it. So that is something the Sheriff's Office could do, but it would have to be maybe countywide and include, I'm not sure, see, that's something we could discuss too.
Let me ask it a different way then. If say a deputy's got a couple of days off, that he's not scheduled to work a regular shift or something, and, 1, 2, 3 of us towns want to get a little agreement together amongst ourselves saying, all right, well, we're going to hire some of these off-duty deputies to just do traffic enforcement when they're available, I mean, is that, again, I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there.
Actually, we have a couple HOAs that do that now with us. They hire our deputies to work traffic enforcement in the mornings and the afternoons of people speeding through their neighborhoods from schools, from work, and they're hiring deputies to basically, and that's what their job is, and they're told up front, if there's a speeder, if there's somebody, run the stop sign, whatever you have, or aggressive driving, to go out there in the neighborhoods and those HOAs and do traffic enforcement. Yeah, we actually are doing that now.
So it's sort of like when we were hiring these deputies to come and direct traffic out here every afternoon. That was an everyday ongoing thing for several years until we got our roundabout.
All right.
Now, does that particular process not even involve the governor's highway safety?
No.
That's just between the municipality
And the sheriff's office, yeah.
And I would think that would be the quickest.
We
I mean,
hire off-duty officers for our events, so
Yeah,
kind of like how WCWA does them to get their traffic.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
so what is the cost of this to us?
Whether it's for traffic direction to parking, whether it's for strict speed enforcement.
I will say at any one time, Union County has a lot of off-duty deputies. I mean, we might have, 30, 40 jobs going on the weekends at one time. I mean, it is a lot of deputies working off duty. But he has 270 sworn. So, you know, there's a big pool to pull from. Yeah.
And the system is very user-friendly.
It is, and it's called roll call, yeah.
You just pick when you want them, you can pay on the system too, so it's really nice.
And then they have to, and then we make them make notes in there of what they did during that shift. And then what we do is in turn, like HOAs, I send that report out like every week or 2 weeks and let the HOAs know, hey, this is what your deputies did. While they were working this shift or these shifts, this is the notes they made.
Okay.
So they can see the progress, you know, what they're out there doing.
And what we learned is there is a flat rate that's required, but on certain days, when there's like around Christmas, when there's a lot of stuff going on, when
Yeah.
there are a lot of jobs, you're gonna have to increase what you're offering.
Right,
Competitive,
yeah.
especially on Sundays.
You're exactly right. Right now, it's $35 an hour for a 3-hour minimum. It's what they get paid. The deputies do off duty. Like I said, some of them pay 40, some of them pay 50. It's just according to, you know, how bad they need a deputy to work, because there's so many competing, and you know, especially on the weekends, Saturday and Sundays, that's their time off, and you know, a lot of them work those weekends. But then again, they pick and select what's the best jobs to work.
As far as the traffic safety enforcement, I mean, I'm sure there's data on when they write these speeding tickets. I mean, and I'm sure if we talk to our deputies, and they could say, yeah, you know, Monday through Thursday from, you know, 4 to whatever is our
It's
big time. And
just my experience is going to be the rush hours. It's just going to be the morning time and the afternoons. That's going to be your worst time.
That's actually not the case in Marvin. That's because they can't, because it's single file and they're all doing speed limit.
That's true. Yeah.
So our biggest
so this
prime
would be a
times are
data-driven, I mean.
Yeah.
low traffic times in the evening and such, and on the weekends
When
when
nobody's
people-
around, yeah.
when they can go. So, but yeah. Cost.
And like I said, you can pick and choose the time that you would like to
So
see
basically,
the deputies there.
you can hire an off-duty deputy, whether it's, you've got a festival going on, or whether you want traffic enforcement, that's, either way.
And you wouldn't have to wait a year. I mean, you could actually work on that in the next couple of months.
So as far as the traffic safety thing,
Right.
what is our outpay? I mean, what are we gonna have to pay for this? So that, I guess that's
And
what
I
really,
don't know, that's the short answer, is I don't know,
Yeah.
but I wanted to kind of, number one, bring the subject up, see what kind of interest there was, and then ask all of us to go back to our respective councils. And David, this has been some great information, really has, and I'm also glad I've got our mayor and one of our new council members back here to listen to it. Because as I said, and I'll repeat what I said at the beginning, the most consistent complaint, you know, concern, call it what you will, that I see us getting from folks is traffic enforcement.
Yeah.
And something like that helps everybody, you know, and it's not tailored to a specific neighborhood or a specific project. I mean, traffic safety helps everybody. And so I don't know if y'all have any other questions for David. If not, my suggestion would be, if it's all right with y'all, that we take this information back to our respective councils, kind of get some feedback on that. I know, you know, we're having our work session here next Monday, and I can talk about that. And then when we get together in February, let's see what we find out and see where we want to pursue that from
I
here.
have a question, and obviously you don't know the exact number, but I think Andy touched on it. What is the top line cost, the gross cost, you know, that's gonna be split 85-15? Is it 100,000, is it 150,000?
Well,
What are we working with that we're gonna have to divide up?
yeah.
Or, you know,
'Cause
it's
I
going to
know mine
probably
was
be,
going on.
now what are you asking as far as what's the total cost for that first year?
Yes.
You can look at a deputy, this going off the top of my head, they probably make, what they pay the actual salary. So in other words, it's not an entry-level salary. And it probably is going to be an experienced deputy. That's what highway safety, that's what we we encourage law enforcement to use your people who are already radar certified, who already, you know how to arrest a drunk driver, somebody who's already traffic oriented, who's been there a while. So it's going to be a higher salary. So I would say maybe 50,000 of this on base salary. Then you got to include the benefits, which is what, 30-40% at least. And then you got to include the vehicle. and what it costs and the equipment that goes in the vehicle. And that can be upwards of $50,000-$60,000. So,
Now, you said that would normally be taken care of the first year when it's that
yeah,
85.
the vehicle and equipment is the first year.
And
What's
then the last 2 years, it would just be the pay and the benefit.
Yes.
So what you're saying is
But
basically.
it'd only be 15% of what that number I gave you. Yeah.
50,000 in the first year, but in that first year, the share that the participating municipalities are doing would be 15.
15% of that. Yeah.
It's good benefit, but certainly the first year.
Yeah.
So it's basically, for those of us who do have deputies, it's about the same price as what we pay for our contract deputies.
Yeah. You can look at your contract deputy, because you probably have the experienced ones, not the youngest ones. So you can look
Right.
at there and what they make. That's probably pretty close.
Both of ours are radar certified. They've had
Yeah.
the whole thing. They're senior officers. They know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Sure.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
And I guess, and I keep scatterbrained here, with these, like if it's a grant that's approved, like for Indian Trail, did the department, did the sheriff's department take those 2 deputies out of your current staff, or did y'all like recruit and bring people in?
From my recollection, they were already deputies working in the sheriff's office.
Okay.
They weren't assigned to the Indian Trail. The slots came open. They put it out to the whole department, and then they applied for it, and then they selected who they wanted to be put in that position.
Okay.
Yeah, and just like that's what sheriff's office does for all their positions. They come vacant.
Well, David, again, any more questions from y'all? Thank you so much. This has
no
been
problem.
great information. And I know, like you said, this is part-time for him, so he came out here out of the goodness of his heart, and I appreciate that very much, sir.
And I apologize for that phone.
Thank you. You're all right.
Thank you very much.
I had it on silent. Somehow it went to, boy,
Don't worry.
Well, you know how cell phones are.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. All right, the B item, this exemption from payment for published notices for certain meetings, that was Steve's. And so we're just gonna have to push that one on to the February meeting. And this is gonna wrap up fairly quick here because item C, the March meeting, but just to catch everybody up, I did invite the new County Commission Chair, Mr. Rowell, to the meeting today, but he had a conflicting schedule and couldn't make it. He said he is interested in coming, so I sent him the date for our February meeting, which is going to be
Mineral Springs.
in Mineral Springs on the, I believe, the 22nd. Did I get that right? Yes, February 22nd. So he said he was going to try to make that one. I was also planning, as per the November meeting minutes, inviting Brian Matthews, because Brian's been really good about coming out and kind of give us an update of this is what we're expecting this year in the county as the county manager. So that would be the February meeting, would be, the primary focus of that would be the update from Brian. And then, we'll cover these, the other couple items that we had here that we're pushing forward. But for March, I had spoken to some of our members, Representative Willis in particular, about getting the Union County legislative delegation together. And they all told me that the end of March, after the primaries are over at the beginning of the month, would be better for their schedules. So I know Joe had suggested trying to get I guess it's the Forest Hill Church down in Waxhaw. So the two things about the March meeting that I need to throw out to you is, number one, we'd be changing the venue to someplace that could accommodate more people, and we would be moving the time to 7 o'clock so we can invite the public and then have a time not just for us to ask questions, but for the public to engage with those folks if they would like to. And that's kind of where we're at with it. I wanted to, and if y'all are good with that, I will reach out to the Forest Hill Church folks down there. Thank you, Austin, for the contact info, and see if they're amenable to that. And if they are, then we'll try to finalize everything at the February meeting. I'll go ahead and give a heads up email to the delegation members saying, hey, this is what we're planning, 7 o'clock, and that meeting would be March the 28th. And again, it would be at 7 o'clock so that we can invite the public, and that would give us plenty of time to let our councils know and hopefully our the residents know that they would be there for that. So that's about the March meeting. So if everybody's good with that, then I'll press forward on that item. All right. Well, finishing up here, item 8 is just any last delegate comments. I'll start from the other side. Rick? Amanda?
I did forget, we need to approve the April 2023 minutes. They never got approved. So-
Okay.
Or we need to at least follow up. I don't think they got approved. If so, we need to put them on the
Can you do that for us, Austin, if you can find those April?
October.
Or October? October. And we can review and approve those next month? If we can. All right.
Are you listening, Steve?
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Andy, anything from you, sir?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, I'm good too. Again, I appreciate the folks that came out. And if y'all have got any questions, of course, I know I'll be talking with a few folks in the front row there after the meeting's over, but I really, really hope that we can work something out to get, a deputy or a couple of deputies working on this traffic issue, because again, I think it's to everybody's benefit, and I'm hoping we'll bear some fruit from this endeavor. But if there's no other comments, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll see you in February at Mineral Springs.